Shortly after we moved to Montana, I was at a yard sale and I was looking around, and on a table I found this funny looking thing. Now, it's right up my alley, that type of thing. It looks like hardware, it's glass, and it was intriguing enough to take a second look at. So I picked it up. I don't recall, it was probably like $1 or $2. And I'm thinking I did recognize the fact that it was a lamp finial. But I didn't know the worth. I didn't know anything about lamp finials or anything like that. So I ended up buying it and I brought it home and I did some research. So I'm going to share with you real quick the research that I did and what ended up happening with that lamp finial and what you should be looking for as well. Okay, so I'm pretty sure at the time, once I brought the finial home, I started to do some research on it, maybe searching Google or Google Lens or something like that, and discovered that it looked very similar to Aladdin, a finial for an Aladdin lamp. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But what I did was I went on Facebook and I found a group that specialized in Aladdin electric vintage lamps, and I figured I could get the rest of my questions answered there. So here's a picture of my post. So this was back in 2021, as you can see, and I asked a question. I said, "Hello, thank you in advance for your help. I found this lamp finial. I'm trying to determine if it is made by Aladdin. The only similar ones I find are made of Alicite. I can't find any examples of clear glass version in this particular like scrolly kind of pattern." So anyway, Alicite is kind of like it's like a milk glass kind of thing, or custard, more of like a custard glass. It was very popular and common with the Aladdin finials. We'll probably see pictures of it later. Some of it might even have been like reactive to black light or something like that. But anyway, I couldn't find a clear one, even though there were other ones that looked just like this in different colors. So I was like, is this Aladdin? Is this a knockoff? Is this something that, is totally unrelated? So I started to get answers pretty quickly. Let me expand that. Okay, so Clear Scroll, he says it was worth nearly $200. I didn't necessarily get that as my results. He says the Alicite ones are kind of more common, so they're 25 to 40, right? Someone else was like, why does it have a smooth bottom? As you can see right there. And people answered because a finial screws on to the top of a lamp, right? So somebody had replied that plug was used to attach the finial to a floor lamp shade. Okay, that's a plug that screws into it. So then I showed her in a picture how this unscrews out. And she was like, okay, that makes more sense. Okay, and then someone shared with me this picture from a catalog. So these, serious collectors have information about these Aladdin lamps. And they showed me a picture. The pattern with these scrolls is called bouquet. So there's old formula Alicite, new formula Alicite, but then there was a clear one that was in the picture that she showed me. So let me see if I'm going to end up back in the same place. No, if I X that out. Okay, good. Okay, so then this other expert said that while it's unusual, a bit more difficult to find, you don't use the word rare, blah, blah, blah. And it's true. I agree with using rare. I don't use it in a lot of my eBay listings. I just was like, I explained to him, I said, is it hard to find, or is it like they're so common, they're clear, no one bothers like to sell them, right? But I was getting an idea from the responses of the people in the comments, right? So it says your funnel is called a scroll broke, was made of glass, several different colors. They were reading it out of a book. Okay, so basically I was down to the fact that it was Aladdin and people agreed on that. And it was so nice to see that catalog page as well. Okay, so, Facebook comments are all out of order in here. So a lot of the like going back and forth makes no sense. All right. So she was like, they're more rare, quite desirable. I'm sure that's what precipitated the whole rare conversation. Jimmy said the pattern is called scroll or bouquet, usually seen in Alicite. And someone's like, they're not as common. I've seen a few. Okay. So it kind of more devolved into a situation of whether to use the word rare or not, which I don't think I did in my listing. So what I believe I ended up doing was throwing it on auction because there weren't any listed. There weren't comps that I could find. And so the results of my auction ended up being $78.77. So I have it kind of funky here on my screen because I was just trying to protect the buyer's identity. Not that it probably matters after so many years, but as you can see, $78.77. So not bad for a find at a yard sale for $1 or $2 or something like that. So it got me thinking about these lamp finials and these Aladdin lamp finials, and I decided to check out some research on eBay and share it with you. So I searched lamp finial Aladdin, highest to lowest. And as I've said in some of my research videos recently, is that you can't just trust the prices that you're seeing and sold on eBay anymore. You have to compare it with Terapeak. So we'll do that in a second. But I'm just going to give you an idea. The pictures are better over here, so you can see some of the examples of these finials. And this looks like all the background's the same, so probably the same buyer, same seller clearing out a collection possibly. But anyway, they have, this green glass from the 30s, dahlia flower, what it's called, and here's an optic ball, and here's another one of the bouquet or scroll in amber glass. So you get an idea of the glass and the variety of designs in the Aladdin finial world. So, hopefully these are pretty enough that you wouldn't walk past them at a yard sale or an estate sale or something like that. But I just wanted to draw them to your attention. So let's look at some real prices. If we go over to Terapeak and we start with the top one, actually was that optic ball one that we saw. And that one sold for $375 last month. And the amber scroll sold for $350. The dahlia sold for $300. The green one that was top of the list over there actually sold for $275. And so as we go down, you can see that most of the top sales in the last, and I have Terapeak here set for 90 days to match the eBay listings. You can go back 3 years on the research tab and see even more pricing. Okay, so we have sometimes in the results was also showing lamps with the finials, and so it was kind of hard to separate out some of those things. But you get an idea of some of the highest priced, well, we're just looking at Aladdin right now, but some of these pretty glass ones are selling for pretty good money. So then I decided to expand the search a little bit. Let's look at vintage lamp finial. So again, we're mostly seeing lamps with the finials. Okay, but here's a lamp finial antique brass dual ram's head, supposedly sold for $1,000. We'll see if we can find it over on Terapeak. Mackenzie Childs lamps with finials, $800. So keep in mind, Mackenzie Childs sells lamps as well. You might not want to skip the lamp section. Tiffany Studios. Let's see. Here's some of the Aladdin ones are coming up. I'm just seeing if we can get past some of these. Oh, here's a different one that's not Aladdin, but it's faceted emerald green cut glass elegant lamp finial topper. Very, very pretty. And here are a pair of vintage metal Roman style bust lamp finials, male and female. So very interesting looking. And Waterford crystal. So again, hopefully eye-catching enough to catch your attention, and possibly they'd be in a box or something like that, that if you came across those. Okay, but like we're seeing, there's a lot of stuff that are on Aladdin lamps. People are selling the whole whole kit and caboodle, right? So it is kind of hard. Here's a Tiffany Studios lamp switch knob bronze with, so I don't know. That looks like a switch, maybe not a finial. Here's a 1950s moss lucite lamp finial only, $191.49. And that's unusual looking. Hopefully I'd be able to figure out what that was if I ever came across it. So let's look over at Terapeak again. It starts with those Mackenzie Childs lamps. The Tiffany Studios is right up there. Some Blanco glass lamps. This is kind of turning into more of a lamp bolo list, but we'll talk about that in another video. Here's that green one, sold for $390. It was an auction. I'm trying to see. Here's a pale green hardstone and brass lamp finial made in China, mid 20th century. So that sold for $295. Here are those metal Roman style busts, $275. And here's that moss lucite lamp finial, $191.49. Okay, fun stuff. So I did try one more thing. I tried to look up lamp finial without the word vintage, just to see if there was something we should look at, you know, in newer lamps. And these Mackenzie Childs pottery bird on ball lamp finials showed up here. So I just thought that was interesting, something to keep an eye out for, that you might also just come across just some fun, you know, if we go down lower in price. It's just hard to, like, everybody puts their lamps on here too. Even though I'm in the lamp parts category. So I just thought, you know, here's one, an acro agate uranium slag glass lamp finial. Okay, so just look for something interesting on a little piece of brass that looks like it screws into something. That's my official definition of a lamp finial. Anyway, so let me run back. Let's go back to the full screen and we'll talk a little bit more. So are we necessarily going to find a lamp finial every time we go out thrifting? No, probably not, right? But this is what I always talk about in my research videos, is just the more that you know, the more that you kind of throw in the reselling Rolodex when you're out there, it helps train your eye, you know, to look for other things. So that way we won't be walking past things. Now, the other lesson that I was thinking to take away from this is the fact that it's good to be curious. Like if you're out thrifting and you see something that looks interesting, looks somewhat different, it's not something you come across every day. We have so many tools right now that we can use on the go, right? eBay itself has a search where you can do an image search. You can have the Google app and you can do an image search with Google. I've just been using this so much lately. And it's not only helped me find things that are worth buying and flipping, but it's helping me to leave things behind as well. So I think that's really important too. So be curious, like when you're out thrifting, be curious and see what's out there that could potentially be super profitable. Okay, so that's the first installment of a little series called Who Knew? You know, I'm hoping to do maybe some little shorter research videos like that so I could get more of them out there. And just kind of thinking about things that we maybe haven't given any attention to before. So let me know any of your guys' experience if you've sold lamp finials. Oh, I knew there was something else I was going to mention. I found mine just sitting on a table, and as I was making this video and they were showing so many lamps, I was like, oh, I should pay attention to the lamps as well. I mean, I do a cursory search of the lamp section, but not zeroing in specifically on the finials. So if you're at like Goodwill Outlet or a yard sale, if the lamps are super cheap and you see some really cool looking finials on top, it might be worth, you know, getting the lamps and parting them out or something like that. Just an idea that kind of popped into my head while I was making this video. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. I've got a bunch of stuff to get listed today, and I will talk to you soon.